You know what I find funny? The motorcycle world's been obsessed with the future for so long. Electric this, autonomous that we completely forgot to look backward. And then Honda went and did something that caught literally everyone off guard. They reached way back, like 61 years back, pulled out a ghost, the 2026 Honda CB450 Black Bomber SE. Now, I've been digging through every scrap of info Honda's dropped about this machine, and here's the thing. This isn't some cheap nostalgia play, not even close. This is Honda planting a flag. Let me back up for a second, because if you're under 50, the name Black Bomber probably doesn't ring any bells. And honestly, that's fine. But if you know your two-wheeled history, you already feel that little jolt in your chest when you hear it. Picture this. 1965, the British rule the roost. Triumph, Norton, BSA, they're the kings. Then Honda rolls in with this 444cc parallel twin that's got double overhead cams at a time when DOHC was basically race bike voodoo, and it only came in one color, black. Riders took one look at it, started calling it the Black Bomber, and the name just stuck for 60 years. Now, Honda decided the timing's right to resurrect it. But here's what gets me. They didn't just slap some nostalgia stickers on a commuter bike and call it a day. They actually sat down and asked themselves, what would this thing be if we built it today with everything we've learned since 1965? Okay, so here's the part that's gonna make your eyebrows shoot up. The new CB450 keeps that parallel twin heart. Gotta respect that. But it's completely reimagined. Liquid-cooled, 471 cc's, and yes, they kept the double overhead cams because that's the soul of this thing. We're looking at about 47 horsepower and roughly 31 pound-feet of torque. I know. Those numbers sound kind of modest when you've got leader bikes running around with 3 times that, but that's missing the point entirely, and I promise I'll get to in just a minute. Quick thought experiment for you. If Honda built a modern engine that churned out 200 horsepower but lost every ounce of the original's character, would you even want it? Think about that for a second. Because that tension between raw numbers and genuine personality is exactly what this bike's grappling with. Visually, oh man, this is where the Black Bomber name really earns its keep. That fuel tank is the star of the show. Chrome-sided, slightly humped, a dead ringer for the 65 original, but cleaned up with crisper lines and a deeper paint job that just gleams. And before you ask, yeah, it's black. Honda knows what made this thing an icon, and they're not messing with that formula. The exhaust is this stacked dual pipe setup hugging the right side, finished in a dark gunmetal tone that pops against all that gloss black. It's gorgeous. The frame is tubular steel, intentionally left exposed because Honda wants you to see the engineering, not just a bunch of plastic shrouds. Up front, there's a round LED headlight with this halo-style daytime running light that somehow manages to look vintage and futuristic at the same time, like it belongs in a retro sci-fi movie. The seat is a single-piece design with a subtle step wrapped in brown leather-look material that ties the whole retro theme together. It's cohesive, you know? Nothing feels slapped on. All right, let's talk about what it's actually like to ride this thing, or at least what it should feel like based on what Honda's telling us. They built it around a steel double cradle frame with telescopic forks up front and dual rear shocks that have adjustable preload. This isn't a track weapon. It's not chasing lap times. This is a bike built for the kind of riding that made motorcycling fun in the first place. Twisty back roads, canyon carving, those aimless weekend rides where the destination doesn't matter because the journey's the whole point. Brakes? Single front disc with a twin piston caliper, rear disc, and dual channel ABS is standard. Wheels are spoked, 18 inches up front, 17 out back, wrapped in dual sport-style rubber that nods to an era when bikes like this were just as happy on gravel as they were on pavement. And here's a stat that's going to matter to anyone tired of modern bikes feeling like overweight luxury sedans. Honda is targeting a curb weight around 410 pounds. That's lighter than a lot of bikes in this class, and it should translate directly into something that feels nimble and alive under you, not some pig you're wrestling at every stoplight. But, and this is where things get interesting, the part most channels are going to gloss right over, Honda isn't positioning this as a budget retro bike. Pricing is expected to land at $19,499. Let that sit for a moment. That's serious money for a 471 twin. So why? Why would Honda price it that high? Because they're not selling you a commuter. They're selling you a piece of motorcycling history that happens to be street legal. The materials, the attention to detail, the engineering bridge from 1965 to now, that's where the price tag comes from. Whether that's worth it to you depends entirely on what you value in a motorcycle. Some riders are going to see that number and nope right out. Others, they'll see it as the cost of owning something genuinely different in a sea of bikes that all kind of blend together after a while. Electronics-wise, Honda didn't completely ignore modern expectations. You get a digital instrument cluster styled to look like a classic twin-dial setup, so it's retro on the surface, but underneath it's giving you gear position, fuel range, trip data. There's a single switchable ride mode, ride-by-wire throttle, and a USB-C port tucked under the seat for your phone or GPS. No massive touchscreen, no Bluetooth app ecosystem. Honda made a deliberate choice here. Keep the experience analog, keep the rider in control, skip the gimmicks that tend to age poorly. Is that the right call? Some riders are going to love it. Others are going to wonder why a $19,000 motorcycle in 2026 doesn't at least have smartphone connectivity. Fair question. Honda's betting restraint works in their favor. Now, something's been bothering me since I first heard that price, and I gotta bring it up. At just under 20 grand, the Black Bomber SE is stepping directly into territory occupied by bikes like the Triumph Speed Twin and even some of Harley's smaller cruisers. Bikes with more displacement, more cubic inches, more raw presence on paper. So the real question isn't whether this is the most powerful bike in its price range. It's clearly not. The question is whether Honda's name, history, and engineering pedigree are enough to justify choosing this over something with a bigger number on the spec sheet. And honestly, I don't think we can fully answer that yet. Honda's betting the brand recognition and the emotional pull of that Black Bomber name will carry serious weight with riders who remember what this bike meant in the 60s, or riders who've simply heard the legend from their dads and granddads. Here's something else worth sitting with. The original Black Bomber got disqualified from certain production races in England back in the day because officials decided its double overhead cam setup made it too much like a factory racer. Think about that. A production motorcycle in 1965 was considered too advanced to race against bikes supposedly in its own class. That's the kind of engineering audacity Honda's trying to resurrect here, 60 decades later. Does the 2026 version live up to that legacy? On paper, the ingredients are there. The character, the silhouette, the engine layout, even that single color philosophy. Whether it captures lightning in a bottle the way the original did back when nobody expected a Japanese manufacturer to out-engineer the British establishment, that's something we won't really know until these bikes hit dealerships and real riders are putting real miles on them. But I'll say this. In a market absolutely flooded with retro-styled bikes that are retro in name only, Honda going back to the actual engineering DNA of the Black Bomber, the cam setup, the frame philosophy, the single color approach, that's a different kind of commitment than most manufacturers are willing to make. Before you bounce though, I gotta level with you about something. Everything I just walked you through, the chrome tank, the dual cam engine, that 19 grand price tag, none of it actually exists yet. The 2026 Honda CB450 Black Bomber SE is a concept. Honda hasn't confirmed a production version, hasn't announced real pricing, hasn't committed to bringing this to dealerships. What I gave you is a deep dive into what this bike would be, what it could be if Honda decides to take this concept and actually build it. So why does this matter? Because concepts like this tell us exactly where manufacturers are testing the waters. Honda clearly understands there's a hungry audience out there for real, mechanically honest retro bikes. Not retro-styled plastic wrapped around a generic engine, but bikes with actual heritage DNA underneath the paint. And if the reaction to this thing is strong enough, that's exactly the kind of pressure that turns a concept into a showroom reality. And if you want to see how that process plays out with another Honda concept facing the same crossroads, honestly, the story behind that one might surprise you even more than this did. Click the video on your screen and I'll see you in the next one.